game I had in my Yamato. Now, my belief is for battleships, job is to push, no matter what country or which battleship you're in. As you can see, it's not a very highly populated game. It's pretty much going to be two Yamatos versus Montanas and North Carolinas. Luckily, there's only one DD. And I just left a little beginning in here because our North Carolina was crying that there was nothing he can do because he's only a tier 8 and it's a tier 10 game. Which is something you can always do. I mean, it's not like your guns don't work. The other thing is, I think it's very important at the beginning of the game to at least communicate with your team on what your intentions are, or what you think they should do, or what we should do as a team. So I'm moving ahead at a snail's pace at half speed, trying to figure out what the other Yamato wants to do. And Chad, he says, hey man, let's just push to A. And I'm all for it. I love taking the Yamato and just saying, I'm OP, deal with it. So, as we're going, full speed ahead now, I'm wondering if this guy's got a secondary build on his Yamato or if he went with something like what I did. I've got the faster reload, but I also have all the captain perks for a secondary build, so I kind of went with a mix of the two builds. Now it's nice to see that, you know, the Baltimore's coming up with us, the Low Yanks coming up, obviously capping. But what, you know, by us saying, hey, we're going to go on to A, that tells our DD and our cruiser, hey, you're going to have the big guns backing you up. And we see the North Carolina. I'm not a great shot at range, but I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to follow the shells in to see how well or how badly I aimed. See, make my adjustments from there. Not a bad first hit. I mean, it's not. I didn't expect to get a Citadel, you know, this far with him angled like that. But it tells me what I was doing. So then I see the Montana, and he's slowing down. Well, slowing down makes you a really easy target for anybody to hit. And considering that I know that these shells can overmatch the nose of the Montana, that's where I'm aiming at. And then I notice the enemy cruiser going into B is going to be presenting me a really good broadside, so I decide, well, I'm going to turn my turrets and try to deal with this guy to help those guys that are coming from C over to here. Not an impressive first salvo. Hopefully the second salvo is going to hit and do some more damage, and I nail a Citadel. I also noticed that the other Yamato with me, his secondaries are going off, which kind of makes me suspect he's got secondary build because he's only 1 kilometer away from me, and Otago's 11 from me. Do the math. Makes me suspect that he went with a secondary build. So now that I know that, I'm going to try not to get in the way so both of our secondaries can do work on the rest of these ships when we do get close enough, because as you can see, we're pushing. We're not going to stop until we get within our secondary range, and then we're going to park our butts and just start dishing out damage like there's no tomorrow. North Carolina's giving me a really nice broadside. I looked at the mini-map also to make sure that it was him, that he was driving straight. No Citadels, but 15 is But 15k is 15k, and I'm not going to argue. Friendly gets a nice solid hit on him. And then I hear his secondaries open up. I also believe I put my secondaries to go on him. Taking another shot. Not sure how well this ends up. And yeah, I aimed low. Well, here comes the Montana. I believe I switched my secondaries at this point. Shoot at the Montana that's creeping up. I believe those torps are out on the Montana. Learned my lesson a little bit from the North Carolina shot. Aimed a little bit higher. I actually got the rear turret, which is not a good sign. And the Montana gets a nice hit on me because I was showing it too much. Now, that's what Montanas need to do, is get along the sides of Yamatos, and they can just wreck them. Getting reloaded, moving forward, trying to get a little bit angled because here comes the second Montana. And I'm trying to get angled against the two Montanas and a North Carolina. Incapacitates a gun on the one Montana. Now, the other thing is, with a lot of these high tiers, you're gonna run into the same players a lot. And I know that the Montana that I'm shooting at, he's a good player. He doesn't make very many mistakes, but when he does make them, you need to capitalize on them. So I'm focusing on him. The friendly Yamato's focusing on the other guy. And I'm moving up to try to get to this rock because I noticed the other Montana had snuck around behind. And he gets a solid hit into our friendly Yamato. Now, unfortunately, by me moving up, it's kind of cut the avenue on this guy. The other Montana got behind the rock. So I know I'm fairly safe, so I cut my speed. Capitalized on his mistake of him having to turn, 3 citadels, and he's gone. Now I'm really more or less worried just about the 2 ships that are in front of us, because the other Montana's going up the channel, which means he's going to be out of the fight. At least against us. Aiming for the bow on the Montana, and I get a citadel along with another penetration. See this North Carolina, I'm like, okay, I'm showing too much side to this guy. I can't angle against everybody. Gonna try to use my rear turret against this North Carolina and manage to get a citadel and incapacitate one of his guns. Get a high caliber. Luckily, not a lot of damage done back to me in return. Get another solid hit on the Montana. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to let my secondaries go to town on him. This North Carolina needs to go before I can deal with these two, because I'm fairly angled against them. Plus, I have the other Yamato. Now, I was also trying to present a bigger target, so my friendly wouldn't be taking shots from the North Carolinas. You know, because the more he's around, the more his guns are helping me too. And he's taking the shot at the North Carolina, because he is actually the bigger threat to both of us right now than the other 2 ships in front of us. Taking a shot with my rear turret on him, get some damage on him. Don't know why I was thinking about shooting Montana when I know that this North Carolina is the guy who needs to die first. I'm still staying fairly well angled against the Montana, getting a little bit on the North Carolina to our left, but I'm opening up myself to the North Carolina on the right. So that North Carolina, he's retreating. You see our 2 allies were shooting at him, and see, they were pushing him. So I'm thinking this guy's got bigger fish to fry than us. I get a citadel through the front of the Montana, and then I'm gonna start pushing this North Carolina around because he's a little bit closer, and just don't feel like dealing with the North Carolina that's behind us because I know I'm going to be fairly angled against him. If he does pop out, and he does have two of our friendlies, he's going to have to try to deal with. Just check on his position, see what he's doing. He's not moving, so okay, he's not a big threat. Now, all of these ships, I do use the manual fire control. Unfortunately, you don't get to see that in the replay, me selecting them. Aimed a little bit high, but I'm not going to argue with 6,000 done to a superstructure because it's really not presenting me very much to shoot at. So, even in a battleship, if I don't have a decent shot on the side of the ship, I will just aim into that superstructure because, you know, 6,000, 10,000 damage is still a lot of damage done. Take a shot at him, knock out one of his guns. So now this guy's pretty much going to have to show a lot more of his side to get the front gun going, because otherwise he's just using his rear gun. Here he goes. I believe he probably thinks he's dead, so he's just going to try to fire everything. I take my final shots, and of course, when the target's low on health, guaranteed to get a Citadel. Got a Citadel and killed him. Montana, I went up the channels finally, coming back into play. Might have been back into play for a couple minutes, but he was too busy shooting at my friend. Now, I'm trying to present somewhat of a target for him to shoot at me and not my ally. Take a shot at him. He's showing side, I was showing side, hoping my shells will do something. And luckily, he did shoot at me and saved my ally for a little bit. See this North Carolina's back out. Not sure which way his guns are facing. I thought they were facing our friendly, so I'm like, I need to help out this North Carolina. Take a shot at him. Unfortunately, our friendly Yamato died to the Montana. I'm showing a little bit too much shine. Here comes the shots from the North Carolina. Not too worried because I am turning a little bit, so hopefully these shells will miss me. And that's going to do it. And as you can see here, 244,000 damage, 75 shots that actually connected, 143 secondaries connected, high caliber, 2,400 base experience, 4 ships sent to the bottom of the sea, and I made some money, which is always good in tier 10. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and have a good day.